A vampire king who's forbidden to touch the sun. A kidnapped artist whose paintings twist fate itself. And an assassin born from shadow, ordered to kill them both. This isn't a love story. This is a countdown to the last sunrise. She was taken to paint a portrait. What she didn't know was that every brushstroke brought the vampire king closer to the sun. And closer to his death. Because the moment he steps into daylight, his assassin awakens. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from right now? I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. Evelyn Hart never liked crowds. She preferred the quiet corners of old studios, the smell of oil paint, and the soft scratch of charcoal on paper. People complicated things. Paint never lied. That evening, she was hurrying along the forest path leading back to her small cottage when she noticed the world around her grow strangely silent. No chirping insects. No rustling branches. Only a thick, heavy stillness, like the air itself was waiting. She slowed. "Hello," she called softly. No answer. Only fog rising from the ground, rolling across the dirt path like a slow breath. Her heart thudded once, hard. A shadow moved at the edge of the trees. Evelyn stepped back. "Who's there?" A deep voice answered, calm and cold. "Evelyn Hart. You will come with us." 3 riders, mounted on horses black as night, emerged from the fog. They wore cloaks that swallowed the moonlight. Their faces were hidden behind metal masks that looked smooth and emotionless. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. What do you want?" "I'm just an artist. I don't have anything valuable." "You have your hands," the lead rider said. "And that is enough." Before she could react, 2 of them dismounted. One seized her arm, not roughly but with absolute control. The other lifted a dark hood and pulled it over her head. "Wait, stop. Let me go." Evelyn twisted, kicked, fought. But the moment the hood covered her face, everything changed. Sound dimmed. Her strength seemed to drain away. The air tasted colder, sharper. "Please, someone help me," she cried, though her voice sounded far away, even to herself. "Do not struggle," the rider said. "You will not be harmed." Evelyn's pulse hammered in her ears. "Where are you taking me?" "To High Reach." She froze. Everyone had heard the stories. The fortress above the clouds. The home of the night ruler. A king both feared and mourned. Evelyn's legs went numb. "No," she whispered. "Not there." But it was too late. They lifted her onto a horse, bound her wrists, not tightly, just enough so she couldn't jump, and began to ride. The world became a blur of cold wind, muffled hoofbeats, and rising altitude. Even through the hood, she felt the shift in the air, growing thinner, sharper, as if the sky itself was closing around them. Hours, or maybe only minutes, passed before the horse finally stopped. Hands guided her down. Someone removed the hood. A rush of cold light hit her eyes. Her breath escaped in awe and fear. Before her stood High Reach Keep, a massive fortress carved directly into the mountain peak. Jagged towers rose like black fingers toward the star-filled sky. The clouds below the cliffs moved and twisted like an endless sea of dark mist. Torches lined the entrance, their flames steady despite the wind, as if bowing to a power inside the walls. Evelyn whispered, barely able to speak. "Why me?" The masked rider answered simply. "Because the king has chosen you." They led her through tall doors carved with old symbols she didn't recognize. Cold stone halls stretched endlessly, their ceilings lost in shadow. Every footstep echoed like a heartbeat. Finally, they stopped before a set of heavy double doors made of dark iron. One rider spoke quietly. "He waits inside." The doors opened with a low groan. Evelyn entered and froze. The chamber was dim, lit only by a tall window where moonlight spilled across the floor. Against that pale glow stood a man, tall, straight, silent. His back was turned to her. His black cloak pooled around him like spilled ink. His hair, dark and slightly curled, brushed the collar of a formal coat embroidered in silver threads. His hands rested behind him, still as carved stone. The room felt colder near him. The riders bowed. "My king," the leader said. "Evelyn Hart." The man turned slowly. Evelyn sucked in a breath. His face was striking. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, pale skin almost too smooth. But it was his eyes that held her still. They were a strange shade, silver with a faint gold glow inside, like molten metal cooling. Eyes that had seen centuries. Eyes that did not blink. The vampire king, Adrian Thorne, took one step forward. Evelyn's shoulders tightened. He studied her as if examining a rare artifact. "You are much younger than your reputation suggests." Evelyn swallowed hard. "My reputation. You paint the truth," Adrian said. "Not what people ask to see, but what they try to hide." Her throat felt dry. "I don't understand. Why bring me here?" Adrian tilted his head slightly, gaze lowering to her hands, still trembling from fear. "I require a portrait. That's all," she whispered. "No," his voice dropped, quiet but heavy. "Not all." He moved closer, stopping only a few steps away. Evelyn could see faint scars across his neck and collarbone. Burns, pale and twisted, like sunlight had once kissed him with violence. Her stomach tightened. Adrian's voice softened. "You will have a room, food, safety, everything you need to work." "And if I refuse?" Evelyn asked. He held her gaze without emotion. "You will not refuse." Her breath hitched. "You can't keep me here." "I can," Adrian said simply. "And I will." The honesty in his voice frightened her more than any threat. He turned away, signaling the riders to leave. "Begin tomorrow morning," he said. "Your studio is prepared." Before Evelyn could say another word, he disappeared into the shadows at the far end of the chamber, silent as a falling leaf. The doors closed behind her with a heavy thud. She was alone, kidnapped, trapped in a fortress above the clouds. And she had no idea why a vampire king needed her, or what painting him would truly cost. Evelyn awoke in a room she didn't remember entering. Soft morning light. Only moonlight, she realized, not sunrise, filtered through a high window. The bed beneath her was soft, covered in dark furs that held a faint, cold scent of stone. For a moment, she thought it might have been a dream. Then the door opened. A young woman stepped in, carrying a tray. She had short blonde hair and kind blue eyes. She wore simple dark clothes, probably a servant's uniform. She smiled nervously. "You're awake. Lily. I'll be helping you during your stay." Evelyn sat up slowly. "Stay? You mean imprisonment?" Lily hesitated. Sorry. I don't decide anything here." Evelyn rubbed her arms, trying to steady herself. "What does he want from me?" Lily's expression dimmed. She glanced toward the door, then back. "He wants a portrait. True one. The king does not allow many to paint him." Evelyn frowned. "Why me?" "Your paintings show people as they really are," Lily whispered. "Even things others can't see." A cold shiver ran down Evelyn's spine. "How does he know that?" Lily shook her head. "He knows everything." Later, Lily led Evelyn up a winding stone staircase to a studio tower. The climb was steep, and the higher they went, the thinner the air felt. But when they reached the top, Evelyn gasped. The studio was beautiful. Tall windows showed the endless sea of clouds below. Moonlight made the floors shine like polished obsidian. Shelves held brushes, pigments, canvases. More supplies than she had ever owned in her life. Lily smiled softly. "He wanted you to be comfortable," Evelyn whispered. "He kidnapped me. Comfort doesn't erase that." Before Lily could answer, the door creaked open. Adrian entered. Evelyn's breath caught again, just as it had in the throne room. He moved with quiet certainty, like he had never doubted a single step in his long life. He studied the studio, then Evelyn. "Is it acceptable?" he asked. Evelyn forced herself to meet his eyes. "It's beautiful." But it doesn't change the fact that you brought me here against my will. His expression didn't change. You would not have come if I asked. Because I'm afraid of you. Evelyn snapped. The room went still. Adrian's face remained unreadable. For a long moment, he simply watched her, silent, assessing. Fear is honest, he finally said. Honesty is useful. Evelyn clenched her fists. You want me to paint you? Fine. I'll paint you. But I need to know why this portrait matters so much. Adrian stepped closer. Everything that matters is hidden in truth. You extract truth from the eyes of others, even when they do not wish to give it. That's not a reason, Evelyn whispered. No, he murmured. It is not. He moved to a tall-backed chair placed near the window and sat. Begin when you're ready. Evelyn tried to focus on her canvas. Her hands trembled slightly, but she forced them steady. She sketched the outline of his shoulders, the curve of his jaw. Every so often she felt his eyes on her, calm and unblinking. She tried not to look at him. He failed. His gaze was sharp, not cruel, just piercing. Like he wasn't watching her skin or her clothes, but the thoughts beneath them. At one point he spoke quietly. You dislike silence. What? Evelyn blinked. Your shoulders stiffen when the room grows quiet, Adrian said. You fill silence with thought. Too much thought. I didn't ask you to study me. And yet I do. Evelyn's charcoal paused midline. Why? She asked. Instead of answering, he posed a question of his own. When you paint someone, what do you see first? She hesitated. Their fear. Adrian's eyes glimmered faintly. And what do you see now? Evelyn swallowed. Yours. The corner of his mouth lifted. Not a smile, but something close. Describe my fear, he said. Evelyn shook her head. I can't. You can, Adrian replied. You already know. Her heart pounded. She looked at him again, really looked. Your fear is daylight, she whispered. Something flickered across his face. Pain, memory, something deeper. He stood. The sudden movement startled her. Evelyn stepped back. Adrian approached the window. Moonlight painted his profile in silver. He lifted a hand and placed it against the cold glass. I have not stood in sunlight for 130 years, he said softly. Evelyn stared. Why tell me this? Because it is the truth, he said. And truth is what you paint. She opened her mouth to question him further, but he suddenly swayed. His grip tightened against the window frame. His breath hitched. Evelyn stepped forward instinctively. Are you? He raised a hand. Do not touch me. But he looked weak. The King of Shadows looked weaker than any human she had ever seen. What's happening? She whispered. Adrian closed his eyes. The moon sets soon. And my strength is tied to night. As the first faint hint of dawn reached the horizon, hidden beneath the endless clouds, Adrian staggered back from the window. It was like watching a wall crack. Evelyn moved toward him without thinking. Let me help. No, he said sharply, but his voice trembled. Do not. He collapsed to one knee. Evelyn reached out anyway. Her hand brushed his arm. Adrian's eyes snapped open, bright gold now glowing. He inhaled sharply. Not from pain, from shock. Evelyn froze. What is that? Adrian stared at her hand on his sleeve, then slowly stood. His chest rose and fell as if he were breathing for the first time in years. Dawn light crept across the sky. A beam of golden brightness slipped through the clouds and struck his face. Evelyn gasped. He didn't burn. His skin warmed but did not blister. Adrian lifted a trembling hand to the sunlight, touching him. Stunned, speechless. It is you, he whispered. Your presence changes me. Evelyn stepped back, heartbeat racing. What do you mean? But she already sensed the answer. Adrian turned to her fully, silver and gold light reflecting in his eyes. For the first time in a century, he spoke quietly, I can feel the dawn. And because of that, his eyes darkened with something heavy and unspoken. The assassin will come. Evelyn's breath caught. Assassin. Adrian nodded. A shadow bound to end me the moment I touch the sun. Evelyn's stomach twisted. And now, Adrian said softly, his gaze fixed on her. Because of you, he will come sooner. The next morning came quietly, though the fortress never truly saw sunrise. The world outside Evelyn's window remained a sea of swirling night clouds, as if the sun itself was afraid to climb above them. But still light existed. Thin, pale bands of dawn filtered through the cracks in the sky, soft but insistent. Evelyn woke to the unsettling memory of the previous morning. Adrian collapsing, the light touching him, and his shock when he didn't burn. She sat up slowly, the blankets cold around her shoulders. Soft knock came at the door. It's open, Evelyn said. Lily stepped inside with a small bowl of warm soup and bread. Good morning, Lily greeted quietly. Evelyn managed a weak smile. Morning. You look pale. It's hard to sleep when your king almost burns alive in your painting studio, Evelyn murmured. Lily's eyes widened. He didn't burn. No, Evelyn said. He should have. But he didn't. Lily's hands trembled slightly. That's impossible. I know. Lily set the tray down and leaned closer. Evelyn, you should be careful. The king, he's different. Strong, but also, there are things he hides. Things no one in this fortress dares to ask. Evelyn swallowed softly. I'm not trying to uncover his secrets. Even if you're not trying, Lily whispered, you'll still see them. A cold breeze brushed through the window. Not wind, not air, but something deeper. The kind of presence that made a room fall silent. Evelyn and Lily both turned. Adrian stood in the doorway. He didn't walk in. He didn't clear his throat. He didn't try to make his entrance known. He was simply there, the way darkness appears when the light disappears. Lily bowed quickly and slipped past him, leaving the room with nervous haste. Adrian stepped inside slowly, each footstep soft but decisive. You are awake, he said. Evelyn nodded slowly. You look different. He did. His skin wasn't as pale. A faint warmth colored his cheeks, as if he had absorbed a sliver of morning instead of fleeing from it. Adrian studied her silently for a moment. Walk with me, he said. Where? Evelyn asked cautiously. The upper terrace. I must test something. She hesitated, fear, curiosity, and something else twisting beneath her ribs. After a breath she followed. The upper terrace was a long stone balcony overlooking the endless night clouds. A pale golden light seeped from the horizon, painting the world in soft colors that didn't belong to a fortress of shadow. Adrian stepped toward the edge. Evelyn stayed a few feet behind him, anxiety coiling in her chest. Yesterday, Adrian began, I touched dawn for the first time in a century. Evelyn's voice was quiet. And didn't burn. Yes. He turned his head slightly. That happened because of you. I don't understand. You don't need to, he said. But I do. He lifted his hand toward the sunlight. Evelyn held her breath. The first thin ray touched his skin, and instead of blistering, it warmed him. Adrian inhaled sharply, stunned. Evelyn stepped forward without thinking. Does it hurt? No. He lifted his face to the light, and smiled. Not a smile of joy, something deeper, something that held grief and hope tangled together. Adrian whispered, I had forgotten this feeling. Evelyn stared, her voice caught in her throat. What does it mean? It means, he murmured, that my curse has shifted, that fate is stirring, that something impossible is happening. He looked directly at her. And impossible things always draw danger. As if summoned by his words, a cold shudder slid across the terrace, sharp and sudden. Evelyn wrapped her arms around herself. What was that? Adrian's expression hardened. It means the assassin has sensed the change. The assassin, she echoed. You said he will come if you survive dawn. But why? Because my ability to walk in sunlight breaks the balance of power. His voice grew lower. And the one who hunts me is bound to preserve that balance. Killing me is not a choice for him. Evelyn's heart thudded. He's bound. Yes. To what? Adrian turned toward the clouds. To shadows. A whisper seemed to drift from the darkness below, thin and distant, like the echo of a knife sliding from its sheath. Evelyn shivered. Is he dangerous? Adrian looked at her with a seriousness she had not yet seen. He is the most dangerous being alive besides myself. Her mouth dried. And he's coming because you can now stand in light. Yes. Adrian's gaze darkened. And because of you, he will reach us faster. Evelyn's chest tightened with guilt. But I didn't do anything. You breathed in the same room as me, Adrian whispered. That is enough. He stepped closer, studying her face with quiet intensity. You change things around you, Evelyn Hart. You always have. She shook her head. How can you know that? Because painting truth, Adrian said softly, means you are made of it. A gust of cold wind swept across the terrace, carrying a faint whisper, like a warning. Adrian grabbed Evelyn's wrist suddenly and pulled her back. Inside, he ordered. What? Now. The assassin's presence grows stronger. He is close enough to sense you. Me. Evelyn's heart pounded. Why would he sense me? Adrian met her eyes. Because whoever can save a king can also doom him. Evelyn didn't leave her room the rest of the day. Adrian did not return, and the corridors outside went eerily quiet. That night sleep refused to come. Every shadow looked too dark. Every flicker of candlelight felt watched. Evelyn whispered into the stillness. What did I get pulled into? But the silence had no answer. Not yet. The fortress was different that evening. Colder. Ill. Unsettling. Evelyn felt it before she even stepped outside her room. Something unseen pressed against the walls. Soft, patient, dangerous. She walked slowly down the hallway toward the studio tower. Her hands shook no matter how she tried to steady them. The studio door creaked as she pushed it open. Moonlight poured across the floor. Her canvas stood where she'd left it, half-finished, a ghostly outline of Adrian's face staring back at her. She exhaled slowly and set out her brushes. For a moment, she could almost pretend everything was normal. Then she heard it. A whisper behind her. Not a voice. Not a breath. Just movement. Too soft for footsteps. Too slow for wind. Evelyn turned sharply. A man stood in the corner of the studio. He hadn't opened the door. Hadn't climbed the stairs. Hadn't made a sound. He was simply there, a shape carved from darkness. His clothing was black, made of a strange material that swallowed the moonlight. His hair was ink-dark, falling just above sharp, unreadable eyes. His face looked young but carried a weight that didn't belong to youth. He watched her without blinking. Evelyn froze. Her throat tightened painfully. Who are you? The man tilted his head slightly. His voice, when he finally spoke, was soft, quiet, emotionless. Caleb Vane. The name meant nothing to her, until she saw something behind his eyes. Void. A stillness. Silence shaped into a person. She swallowed. You're the assassin. Caleb didn't deny it. His next words came gently, almost politely. You should not be here alone. Evelyn took a step back. You're here to kill Adrian. Yes. Then why are you talking to me? Because, Caleb said calmly, you are not part of the order. Not yet. Not yet. Evelyn whispered. What does that mean? He stepped forward, his movements graceful and controlled, like a shadow flowing across the floor. Evelyn backed up instinctively, her spine hitting the edge of a table. Caleb stopped only a few feet away. Your presence changes him, he said. It changes the curse, changes the sun, and it changes the prophecy. Which means you change the fate of this world. I didn't ask for any of this. Evelyn snapped, breath trembling. No, Caleb agreed. But fate does not wait for permission. He looked at the half-finished portrait. What do you see when you paint him? Caleb asked. Evelyn's voice shook. I see someone who's afraid to be human. Caleb's expression barely shifted. But something in his eyes flickered. A memory, perhaps. You are not wrong, he murmured. Light hurts him. Life hurts him. Memories hurt him more. Caleb took another step. You should leave. I can't, Evelyn said. Adrian won't let me. He won't, Caleb confirmed softly. He cannot afford to. Why? Because you make him stronger, Caleb said. And more human. And that is exactly what makes him vulnerable. He reached out, taking one of her brushes from the table and twirling it between long, steady fingers. You, he said quietly, are both the key to his salvation and the weapon that will end him. Evelyn's breath stopped. Caleb leaned closer, voice barely above a whisper. My orders are simple. When he walks freely in daylight, I must kill him. And if you help him reach that point, he paused. I must kill you as well. Evelyn's heart dropped. But, Caleb finished, turning the brush slowly in his fingers. I do not want to kill you. The room felt suddenly smaller. Why? Evelyn breathed. Caleb looked at her as though trying to understand the answer himself. You are the first person I have seen in years who is not made of shadow. His voice was so soft it seemed meant only for the air between them. Evelyn swallowed harshly. So what are you going to do? Caleb stepped back, releasing the brush onto the table. That depends on you, he said. Behind them the temperature shifted. A cold wind swept through the open window. Caleb's eyes hardened. He is coming. Adrian, Evelyn whispered. Caleb nodded once. Yes. The door burst open. Adrian entered, eyes glowing faintly with gold and silver, power radiating from him like heat. His gaze locked on Caleb. Assassin. Caleb didn't bow, didn't move, didn't show fear. King. For a moment, the studio felt like the center of the world. Silent, heavy, tense enough to snap. Adrian stepped in front of Evelyn. If you touch her. Caleb raised a hand lightly. I have not harmed her. You will, Adrian said. That is what you were made to do. Caleb's voice dropped into a whisper. Not yet. The air trembled. Evelyn stepped forward, her voice shaking. Stop this, both of you. Neither looked at her. Their eyes were locked in an ancient, unspoken battle. Finally Caleb broke the stare. This is not the time, he said. But soon. And in a blink. He vanished. A shadow dissolving into a darker shadow. Evelyn gasped. Where did he? Anywhere, Adrian answered. Everywhere. He turned to her, anger, fear, and something far more fragile flickering behind his eyes. You should never be alone again, he said. Evelyn's chest tightened. Adrian, what is happening? He reached out as though to touch her face, but stopped inches away. Like he wanted to but couldn't. The prophecy has begun, Adrian whispered. And you are now at the center of it. The studio door remained closed long after Caleb vanished. Adrian stood in front of it, breathing harder than normal. Not from fear, but from fury he was struggling to control. Evelyn stayed near her easel, stunned into silence. The room felt too small, too dark, too full of tension that clung to the air like smoke. Finally, Adrian turned toward her. You should have called for me, he said. Evelyn stiffened. I didn't know how. You should have screamed. I did, she snapped. In my head. Adrian blinked once, his expression strange. Confusion mixed with a softness he tried to hide. You are unharmed, he said quietly. Because he didn't want to kill me, Evelyn replied, voice still shaking. Adrian's jaw tightened. He lies. He doesn't seem like someone who needs to lie. That is exactly why he lies, Adrian murmured, pacing the room. His cloak brushing the floor like a restless shadow. He is crafted from the absence of truth. That is his nature. Evelyn swallowed. He said he didn't want to kill me. And tomorrow, Adrian snapped. He may say he does. Evelyn stared at him. Why does he obey these orders? Why does he have to kill you? Because I broke a rule that should never be broken. Evelyn's chest tightened. What rule? Adrian stopped pacing. He turned toward the window, staring at the world of clouds below. The rule of immortality, he said quietly. We are forbidden to touch the sun. Forbidden to feel it. Forbidden to desire it. And you do, she whispered. Adrian lifted a trembling hand to his face. I once did. Long ago. I wanted to walk the world as it is meant to be walked, under a sky that holds both night and day. Evelyn's voice softened. Why? Because the sun is life. And I, he paused, had someone I wanted to live for. Evelyn's stomach twisted, not from jealousy but from sadness. She didn't ask who. Something in his voice told her the memory already hurt enough. Adrian continued. When I tried to stand in sunlight a century ago, I nearly died. And the council declared that if I ever succeeded, I must be executed to restore balance. And the assassin, Evelyn whispered. Caleb was created for that purpose alone. Evelyn's mind spun. So if you live in the sunlight, he dies unless he kills you. Adrian nodded. His life ends if mine continues. And mine ends if I help you, she said bitterly. Adrian finally turned toward her fully. I will not allow that. His words came out fierce, final. Evelyn looked away. You already did. By bringing me here. The silence that followed felt like a wound. Adrian's expression hardened. Not with anger, but with something that looked painfully close to regret. I kidnapped you, he said. Not to harm you. I brought you here because your gift is rare. Because your paintings bind truth to the world. Because you can show who I am, even when I cannot see it myself. That's not a reason, Evelyn whispered. Adrian stepped closer, and his voice dropped low. I did it because I had no one else. Evelyn's heart ached at the raw honesty in those words. A king feared by thousands. Creature of night. Someone who could snap bones with a thought. And yet he had no one. She forced herself to breathe slowly, carefully. Adrian, she said, I can't be part of your war. I just want to paint. And you will, he said. You must. I don't even know what I'm painting anymore. The truth, he replied simply. Evelyn shook her head. Truth doesn't save people. It saved me once, he murmured. And it may save me again. Before she could respond, Adrian moved closer than he ever had before. He reached out slowly, so slowly she could have stepped away. But she didn't. His fingers hovered near her chin. He didn't touch her. He looked like he wanted to. Your painting will decide my fate, he said. Then why trust me? Evelyn whispered. Because, Adrian whispered back, your eyes see what my kingdom refuses to name. And truth, even when painful, is powerful. For a moment the world felt suspended between them. Then he stepped back suddenly, almost violently, as if distance was the only protection he had. Continue your work, he said. But be careful. Caleb will not approach you again tonight. He has rules as well. What rules? Shadows do not strike twice in the same hour. Evelyn almost laughed at how absurd and terrifying that sounded. What do we do now? She asked. Adrian looked toward the distant horizon, the place where sunrise struggled to exist. Now, he said, we prepare for dawn. Evelyn spent the night painting. Her hands shook at first, but slowly steadied as she lost herself in the strokes of charcoal and paint. She painted Adrian's eyes. Not cold, not cruel, just impossibly tired. She painted the faint warmth returning to his skin. The shadow of fear he tried to hide. The hint of longing he didn't speak. Every truth she put on the canvas felt like a confession. When her hands finally stopped, she stared at the portrait. It was only half done, but already it looked alive. She stepped back. Can paint carry fate? She whispered. No answer came. But something inside her whispered yes. A faint glow crept across the horizon. Evelyn stood on the terrace, breath fogging in the cold air. Adrian stood beside her, leaning on the stone railing, his eyes fixed on the slowly brightening sky. He looked calm. Come. Are you sure about this? Evelyn whispered. Yes. You don't look like you slept. I don't sleep. Evelyn startled. At all. Not in the way humans do. What happens at sunrise? She asked quietly. Adrian's eyes lowered. If your presence weakens the curse, I will stand. If it doesn't. He didn't finish the sentence. Evelyn stepped closer without meaning to. And Caleb. He will feel it. And if you survive, he will come. Evelyn's heart pounded. Then don't do this. Adrian turned to her, and the dawn reflected in his eyes, silver and gold flickering together. There is no going back, he said. Evelyn wanted to scream. Instead, she grabbed the sleeve of his coat, voice trembling. Adrian, this isn't a test. It's suicide. He looked at her hand on his arm. For a long moment he said nothing. Then softly, let me try. She slowly released him. Adrian walked toward the edge of the terrace, stepping into the faint path of sunlight creeping up from beneath the clouds. The light touched his boots first. No burn. Then his hands. His skin glowed warm, human, soft. Then his face. Evelyn's breath caught. Adrian inhaled sharply, chest rising, eyes widening in shock. I can feel it, he whispered. I can feel the warmth. Evelyn watched, stunned, terrified, awed. He took another step. No smoke. No burn. No scream. He stood fully in sunlight for the first time in over a century. Adrian lifted his head, eyes closing. A single tear slid down his cheek. Slow, warm, human. Evelyn covered her mouth, tears threatening at her own eyes. Adrian, she whispered. He turned to her, sunlight glowing behind him like a halo. I am alive, he said, voice barely steady. Truly alive. Evelyn laughed through her shock. You're warm. I can see it. He nodded, breathing deeply. Your presence strengthens me. Your painting anchors the truth. With every stroke, I grow less cursed. Evelyn didn't know what to say. She didn't have to. Adrian stepped toward her, still glowing, still warm, but suddenly stumbling. He swayed violently, hand clutching the railing. Evelyn rushed to him. Adrian, what's wrong? He gritted his teeth. He feels it. Caleb. A sudden gust of wind shook the terrace railing. The air sharpened, colder than before, so cold it stung Evelyn's lungs. Shadows rippled across the floor. Evelyn froze. Adrian grabbed her arm. Get inside. No. Evelyn, go. A whisper cut through the air like a blade. Too late. Caleb stepped from the shadow cast by the railing, as if the darkness itself had birthed him. His eyes were unreadable, sharp as black glass. But something inside them flickered with conflict. He stared at Adrian standing in sunlight. So it is true, Caleb murmured. You break the rule. Adrian moved in front of Evelyn. Do not touch her. Caleb's expression didn't change. I have no orders to harm her yet. Yet. Evelyn breathed, horrified. Caleb's gaze flicked toward her briefly. Soft, almost regretful. You should not have helped him, he said. And you shouldn't have come here, Adrian growled. I had no choice, Caleb replied calmly. The sun burns me. Your curse disappearing drags me closer. Adrian stiffened. I will not let you die for me. You do not decide, Caleb said. He stepped forward, and the shadows tightened around his feet like chains. I must obey the bond. Evelyn realized something terrible then. Caleb wasn't a villain. He was trapped, just like Adrian, just like her. And fate was dragging all of them toward destruction. Caleb's hand brushed the hilt of a thin, jagged blade strapped to his side. Adrian moved in front of Evelyn again, voice dropping to a dark growl. If you try, I won't strike today, Caleb interrupted. Adrian blinked, confused. Why? Caleb stared at Evelyn for a long moment. Then at the sunlight touching Adrian. Then at the shadows binding his own feet. Because killing you now, Caleb said quietly, would kill her. And I don't want her blood on my hands. Evelyn's breath froze. Caleb stepped back into the shadows, his form dissolving. But the more light you stand in, he whispered, the closer we come to the last day. And then, he vanished, leaving Adrian trembling in the dawn light. And Evelyn standing beside a king who was becoming more human every sunrise. And more hunted because of it. Highreach Keep felt heavier after Caleb's departure, as if his shadow still lingered in the corners, listening, waiting. The sunrise, which should have been a moment of hope, left a bruise on everyone's spirit, especially Evelyn's. She walked beside Adrian down the long hallway leading back to the throne room. Neither spoke. The stone walls around them held a chilled silence, a silence full of hidden cracks. Finally, Evelyn said softly, "Are you hurt?" Adrian's steps slowed. "No." He sounded distant. "But you're trembling," she said. "I stood in sunlight," Adrian answered. "The sensation is overwhelming." Evelyn's voice gentled. "Is it painful?" "No," he hesitated. "But it is terrifying." She looked up at him. "Why?" "Because it reminds me what being alive feels like." Evelyn stopped walking. Adrian took another step, realized she wasn't beside him and turned back. She stared at him carefully, seeing not the impossible king or the cursed immortal, but a man whose strength was cracking in ways he didn't know how to hide. "Adrian," she said quietly, "you don't have to pretend with me." He blinked, thrown off balance by her bluntness. "Pretend that you're not afraid." He held her gaze. His voice lowered. "I am afraid." The admission was soft, barely audible, but it carried the weight of a century. "And I hate it," he added calmly. "I hate what fear makes me do." Evelyn exhaled, relief and sadness mixing. "Good. That makes you human." His breath caught. It was so small she almost missed it. Human. A dangerous word. But he didn't correct her. Instead he stepped closer, his presence filling the narrow hallway. "Caleb will come at dusk. Or tomorrow. Or another day soon. He will not wait long." Evelyn tightened her grip on her shawl. "You really believe he'll kill you?" Adrian didn't hesitate. "If the curse lifts fully, he must. His life is bound to mine." "But he doesn't want to," Evelyn whispered. "He has no choice." "Everyone has a choice." "Not him," Adrian said quietly. "Not you. And not me." He walked again, forcing her to follow, but the hallway felt colder now. When they reached the throne room, several members of the night court were waiting. They bowed deeply, but fear flickered in their eyes. One guard finally spoke. "My king," the fortress trembled at dawn. "We feared." "Do not fear," Adrian said. "I am well." "But the curse," another whispered. "The curse is breaking." Whispers swarmed like insects. "Impossible. Dangerous. Against the laws. The assassin, he will come." Adrian raised a hand, and silence fell instantly. "The curse shifts," he said. "But you will not question it." The guards bowed lower, but Evelyn could feel their dread. She stepped closer, lowering her voice so only Adrian could hear. "You're scaring them. They should be afraid." She frowned. "Why?" "Because fear keeps them loyal." "That's not loyalty," she muttered. "That's control." Adrian looked at her with an unreadable expression. Almost curiosity, almost irritation, almost something softer. He leaned closer. "Control is all that has kept this kingdom alive." Evelyn didn't answer. She didn't trust her voice. Because she had seen another truth. Adrian didn't want control anymore. He wanted freedom. He wanted light. He wanted something he hadn't dared name. But the truth frightened him too. Later that night, the moon hung low over the fortress. Evelyn returned to her studio, hoping distractions would quiet her racing thoughts. Her painting awaited her, half-finished and glowing faintly in moonlight. Adrian's face, raw, unguarded, unmasked, looked back at her. When she dipped her brush and touched the canvas, something inside her clicked. The story of him flowed into her strokes. Eyes that held centuries of longing. A face carved with quiet suffering. A glimpse of warmth trying to push through shadow. The truth pulsed beneath the paint. She didn't hear the door open. Only when a cold voice whispered behind her did her hand freeze. "You see too much." Her breath caught. "Caleb." The assassin stepped forward out of darkness. Tonight he wore no hood, no armor. Just the same shadow-woven clothes, clinging to him like a second skin. His eyes glinted with something she couldn't name. "You should not be alone," Caleb said. Evelyn's voice was steady despite her fear. "You said you wouldn't hurt me." "I said I had no orders to hurt you," Caleb corrected. "Yet. And now," she whispered. "Do you?" "I do not know." Evelyn's stomach tightened. "Caleb, please, don't do this tonight." He stood behind her, watching the portrait. The silence stretched dangerously thin. "This painting," he murmured. "It makes him look human." "He is human," Evelyn said softly. Caleb shook his head once. "He is not. Not entirely. And he never will be." He stepped beside her. She felt his presence like a cold blade at her throat. "You pity him," Caleb said. "I see him," Evelyn corrected. "Seeing him is more dangerous than killing him." Evelyn stiffened. "Why are you here?" Caleb met her gaze with unsettling stillness. "To understand what he sees in you." Her heart stuttered. What? "He watches you as if you are the last thing he has left," Caleb said calmly. "And that complicates fate." Evelyn's breath caught. "Why would that matter to you?" "Because," Caleb said softly, "the king has never cared for anything that wasn't already part of the night." A shiver ran through her. Caleb looked back at the painting. "Keep painting him," he said. "Finish the truth." "Why?" Evelyn whispered. "So I know what I am killing." Those words cut through her like ice. But before she could speak, Caleb vanished, slipping back into the wall of shadows, as if swallowed by the darkness itself. Evelyn stood alone in the moonlit studio, heart pounding, brush trembling. And the portrait before her seemed to stare back, with eyes that understood too much. The next morning, Evelyn awoke to a strange warmth in the air. Not sunlight, not heat from a torch, something different. She sat up and followed the glow to the studio. Her painting shimmered faintly, like the colors themselves were alive. Adrian stood in front of it, hands clasped behind his back, eyes locked on the portrait. He didn't turn when she entered. Evelyn froze. "Adrian." He spoke without looking away. "Your painting grows stronger each day." Evelyn swallowed. "What does that mean?" "It reflects truth," Adrian said. "And the truth is becoming real." She stepped closer. "How?" "Because your gift is not skill," Adrian whispered. "It is power." Evelyn felt the world tilt. "No. I just paint what I see." "And what you see," Adrian said, "you bring into existence." She shook her head. "That's impossible." "Then explain this." He stepped into the glow cast by the portrait. His skin warmed. Faint color returned to his cheeks. His eyes shone with gold more visible than before. Evelyn's breath caught. "Your painting makes me alive," Adrian whispered. "And the more truth you reveal, the more the curse breaks." She stared at him. "But then, Caleb." "Yes," Adrian said quietly. "The portrait speeds my death." "And his." Evelyn turned toward the half-finished canvas, panic churning inside her. "Then I should stop." "No," Adrian said immediately. She looked up sharply. "No. You must finish it. If finishing it brings the assassin closer." "It brings me closer to freedom," Adrian interrupted. Closer to dawn. Closer to life. He stepped toward her, his voice softening. And closer to you. Evelyn's heart thundered painfully. But the moment fractured when a deep vibration shook the fortress. Low, rumbling, ominous. Evelyn grabbed the edge of the table. What was that? Adrian stiffened. The council has learned. Learned what? She whispered. That the curse is breaking. Evelyn felt the color drain from her face. They're going to attack you. They will do worse, Adrian said. They will try to destroy the portrait. Evelyn stared at him. But the portrait is part of your truth. Yes, Adrian said darkly. And if they destroy what anchors the sun to me, I will burn the next dawn. She trembled. Then we must protect it. Adrian met her eyes. And in that moment, something ancient and fierce sparked inside him. You would protect me, he whispered. Evelyn nodded. Of course. He exhaled softly, as if the words meant more to him than she understood. Another tremor shook the fortress, stronger this time. Adrian grabbed her arm. We don't have much time. He pulled her from the studio just as the door shook violently under several blows. Guards from the council trying to break in. Evelyn gasped. They're trying to destroy the portrait. Yes, Adrian said. Because they fear what it will make me. What will it make you? She whispered. Adrian turned to her, eyes blazing gold. Human enough to break my chains. He pulled her down the staircase. Stone cracked behind them as the guards burst through the studio door. Shouts echoed. Burn the painting. Destroy the curse-breaking portrait. Kill the artist if you must. Evelyn stumbled, fear ripping through her. Adrian tightened his grip. They will not touch you. They reached the great hall, where moonlight poured through stained glass windows. But Evelyn froze. Standing in the center of the hall was Caleb. He wasn't cloaked. He wasn't hidden. He stood calmly, as if waiting for them. Adrian stepped in front of Evelyn, voice hardening. Move. Caleb didn't move. He simply stared at them. His eyes softer than before. I came, Caleb said quietly. Not to kill you. Adrian tensed. Then why? To warn you, Caleb answered. The portrait is calling power. Too much. The council will destroy it before the next dawn. Evelyn's heart raced. Then help us stop them. Caleb looked at her. Really looked, and something in his face shifted. I cannot help you, Caleb said. But I can delay them. Adrian's eyes widened with disbelief. You would betray the council. Caleb shook his head. I am betraying my fate. He stepped aside, creating a path forward. Go, Caleb said. Finish the painting. Anchor the truth. Evelyn could barely breathe. Caleb, why? His eyes settled on her. Because you changed him, Caleb whispered. And you changed me. Then he turned toward the oncoming guards, shadows gathering around him like a cloak of darkness. Go, he said one last time. Before they reached the studio, Adrian grabbed Evelyn's hand again and ran. Behind them, the first clash of steel rang out, echoing through the hall like the opening note of a war. The portrait waited, and fate sharpened its blade. The corridors shuddered as Adrian and Evelyn raced back toward the studio, every step echoing like a countdown. Above them, the ceiling trembled with distant combat, Caleb against the council's elite guards. Evelyn's breath came in ragged gasps, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. Adrian pulled her around a corner just as an iron chandelier crashed down where they had stood a heartbeat earlier. Are they trying to kill us too? Evelyn panted. Adrian's jaw tensed. They don't need you if the portrait is gone. But they need you dead. They need order restored, he growled. The curse must remain intact. If I become human, if I break the ancient rule, they lose control. Evelyn felt anger spike through her chest. You aren't their prisoner. I am their king, Adrian corrected. And the king is the first prisoner of the throne. Another tremor rattled the stone. Screams echoed in the distance. shrieks enveloped by shadow, then silence. Caleb was fighting. And he was killing. Adrian's steps faltered. Evelyn saw the pain cut across his face, sharp and real. "What's wrong?" she whispered urgently. "Our bond," Adrian breathed. "When he kills. I feel it. Does he feel when you? When I live," Adrian finished for her. "Yes, he feels every moment of light in me. Every breath that isn't supposed to exist." Evelyn's heart wrenched. "So when you stepped into the sun this morning." "He felt himself dying," Adrian whispered. Chilling truth. A brutal one. But there was no time for it now. They reached the studio door, splintered, cracked, and hanging by one hinge. Adrian stepped inside first, shielding her with his body. The studio was wrecked. Paint bottles shattered. Shards of glass from broken lanterns littered the floor. Charcoal dust coated everything like ash. But somehow, the portrait still stood, untouched, unbroken, glowing faintly, pulsing with soft, warm light that made the air hum as if alive. Evelyn stumbled forward, relief crashing into her. "It's okay. It's okay." "No," Adrian said sharply. "It is not." He turned. He was staring at the portrait with something like terror. "What's wrong?" she whispered. "Look closer." Evelyn leaned in. The portrait had changed. The face she'd painted, Adrian's softened, human face, glowed with a luminous warmth. But behind his painted form, the shadows had moved. They curled around the edges of the canvas, twisting like smoke. Not Caleb's shadows. Something older, more ancient, more monstrous. Evelyn's voice trembled. "What is that?" Adrian's throat tightened. "The curse fights back." She touched the canvas lightly. The glow surged, warm like sunlight against her fingertips. The shadow beneath recoiled with a hiss. Adrian grabbed her wrist. "Do not touch it again." "But I didn't feel anything." "I did," he said quietly. "Your power cuts me." Evelyn froze. "Cuts you?" "My curse is part of my soul," Adrian said. "And your truth slices through it." "But I'm helping you," she whispered. "Yes," Adrian said softly. "By destroying the part of me that has kept me alive for centuries." She swallowed hard. "Then how do we finish the portrait without killing you?" He looked at her with brutal honesty. "That is the question neither of us wants to answer." Before she could respond, steel clashed outside the ruined door. A guard's scream echoed, followed by the sickening thud of a body hitting stone. Caleb stepped into the doorway. He was drenched in shadow, literally. Black mist coiled around him like smoke from a dying fire. His breaths came sharp and uneven. His eyes, normally glassy and emotionless, were wild with exhaustion. "Caleb!" Evelyn gasped. He held up a hand. "Do not come closer." Adrian moved in front of her immediately. "You're hurt." "Of course I'm hurt," Caleb spat. "I'm buying you time neither of you deserve." Blood, dark, inky, not human, dripped from Caleb's side. Evelyn stepped forward despite his warning. "You're bleeding." He forced a weak smirk. "Shadow bleeds differently." "What happened?" Adrian demanded. Caleb's jaw tightened. "More council guards are coming. Stronger ones. They brought the Nightbreaker blades." Adrian's eyes widened. "Those weapons can kill me." "They can kill both of us," Caleb corrected. "And what about me?" Evelyn whispered. Caleb turned to her, gaze softening. "They will kill you last so you can watch the curse reset." Evelyn's stomach dropped. "Reset. They will bring another artist," Caleb murmured. "And start over. Again and again." He took a breath. "It is what they always planned." A long silence filled the room. Then Caleb lifted his chin. "You need to finish the portrait. Now." Evelyn shook her head, trembling. "But finishing it could kill Adrian." "Not finishing it will kill all of us," Caleb snapped. "The curse will rip him apart if it stays half broken. And if he dies, I die. If I die, the curse snaps back onto the next king." And who would that be? Adrian asked darkly. Caleb looked at him with pain. You know the answer. Adrian's hands curled into fists. My brother. Silence. Evelyn felt her breath catch. You have a brother, she whispered. Adrian nodded slowly. A younger one. Barely 20 when I was turned. The council groomed him to replace me if I ever broke the rule. And you didn't tell me. There is much I have not told you. Caleb stepped closer, voice rough. There is no time for secrets. Finish the portrait. He pointed at the canvas. And let the truth decide who lives. Evelyn stared at the half-finished painting. Her hands shook. Adrian gently touched her shoulder. You don't have to. Yes, she said, voice steadying. I do. He inhaled sharply, relief, fear, hope, all tangled together. Then I stay with you, Adrian murmured. Caleb nodded, leaning heavily against the wall as blood dripped from his wound. And I'll hold the shadows back. Evelyn picked up her brush. The portrait pulsed. The curse moaned. The fortress trembled. And with a single breath, she began to paint. Time blurred. Every stroke Evelyn laid onto the canvas pulled at something deep in the world. Something binding, ancient, primal. She felt Adrian's warmth behind her. His presence steady like an anchor. She felt Caleb's shadow nearby, weakening with each passing moment. The portrait grew brighter. Adrian's painted eyes softened into something unmistakable. Human grief, human longing, human hope. Evelyn gasped as the warmth surged up her arm. It's changing him. Adrian's voice was a whisper behind her. You are changing me. But below the portrait's glow, the shadows writhed violently. Caleb's voice wavered. Hurry before they break through. Evelyn pushed faster, heart pounding. She painted the line of Adrian's jaw, the warmth of his cheek, the light behind his eyes. The painting pulsed, bright, alive. Adrian sucked in a sharp breath, hand flying to his chest. Evelyn! He turned. His skin was glowing. Not shimmering, glowing. Human warmth radiated from him in waves. Adrian, she whispered. You're... He choked out a breath. Alive. Evelyn stepped toward him instinctively. But before she reached him, the studio door exploded inward, stone shattering, wood splintering. Council guards flooded the room, 10 of them, wearing bone-white armor engraved with ancient runes. Their leader pointed his blade at Adrian. Kill the king, he ordered. Kill the assassin. Burn the artist. Caleb staggered to his feet, shadows gathering around him like a final stand. Adrian stepped forward to shield Evelyn. But before anyone could strike, the portrait behind them burst into blinding light. A wave of power exploded outward, throwing everyone to the floor, snuffing out torches, shattering the windows, making the fortress tremble like the mountain itself was waking. The curse screamed. The shadows recoiled. The truth revealed itself. And when the light faded, nothing in the room was the same. Silence fell heavy across the studio. Evelyn opened her eyes slowly, chest aching. Dust drifted through the air like falling snow. Cracks split the stone floor beneath her palms. The guards lay unconscious. The walls were scorched. The air smelled like lightning. Adrian! Evelyn croaked. Adrian! I'm here. He turned. Adrian stood beside the portrait, no longer glowing, no longer breaking. He looked different, human, not fully, not perfectly, but undeniably changed. His skin held warmth. His eyes, no longer silver, shimmered gold with traces of emotion she'd never seen before. His chest rose and fell with breaths he hadn't taken in a century. Evelyn's throat tightened. Adrian! He stepped toward her, each step strangely unsteady, like he was relearning his own body. I feel everything, he whispered. He stood. Her hand reached out. He caught it gently, warm, real, alive. Caleb groaned from across the room. Evelyn turned sharply. Caleb lay crumpled against the wall, shadows flickering weakly around him like dying embers. Caleb, she cried, running toward him. He lifted his gaze weakly. I'm still here. Evelyn's heart lunged. But Adrian's curse, if it's broken. It's not broken, Caleb whispered. It's shifting. His breath hitched. Part of it has moved into the portrait. And part into him. And the rest, into me. Evelyn froze. What does that mean? Caleb exhaled a long, shuddering breath. It means the curse no longer kills us when he gains the sun. Adrian stared, stunned. You're free. Caleb shook his head. No. We are bound differently now. He pointed weakly to the portrait. Its surface cracked, the paint shimmering faintly like an ember waiting for breath. That painting carries the curse, Caleb said. Whoever claims it, inherits it. Adrian stiffened. So someone else could become the next sun-stricken king, Caleb whispered. Evelyn swallowed hard. Who does the curse choose? Caleb glanced between her and Adrian with a faint, bitter smile. It chooses the one whose truth has been painted. Evelyn's heart dropped. Adrian looked horrified. Evelyn. She shook her head sharply. No. I didn't paint myself. No, Caleb said. But he painted you. They froze. What? Evelyn whispered. Caleb nodded toward the far wall. And there, covered partially by rubble, was another canvas. Small one. Hidden before. Evelyn approached slowly, heart hammering, and brushed away the debris. Her breath caught. It was a portrait. Her portrait. Painted by Adrian with strokes so intimate, so painfully careful. She felt exposed just looking at it. I painted that, Adrian whispered, voice breaking. It doesn't bind the curse to her, Caleb said quietly. Not alone. But combined with your portrait. Combined with what happened here, he swallowed. The curse sees you both. Evelyn backed away, shaking. No. No, we can't both. Caleb closed his eyes. One of you will take the curse. No, Adrian snapped. Evelyn will not be cursed. Caleb opened his eyes. Then you must take it. Adrian froze. Evelyn shook her head violently. Adrian, no. He looked at her softly. It was always meant to be me. Evelyn grabbed his wrist. You just got your life back. Your warmth. Your breath. Your humanity. And I would give it again, he said quietly. For you. The words hit her like a blade. But before either of them could speak again, the portrait behind them pulsed. Just once. A hum filled the air, low and ancient. The curse was choosing. And the light rising from the cracked painting split in two. One half drifting toward Adrian. The other toward Evelyn. No! Adrian lunged toward her, trying to block the light. But Caleb, with the last of his strength, threw himself between them, absorbing one half of the curse like a shield. His scream echoed through the fortress. Caleb! Evelyn cried. When the light vanished, Caleb collapsed, breathing, alive but trembling violently. Adrian caught him. Caleb's voice was ragged. I took half, so the other half wouldn't kill her. Evelyn staggered. What half? What did I get? Caleb nodded weakly toward her hands. Evelyn looked down. Her fingertips glowed with a faint, shimmering gold, as if carrying the remains of sunlight. He gasped. I have. A fraction, Caleb whispered. Only a fraction. Enough to link you to him. Not enough to curse you. Evelyn looked at Adrian. Adrian looked at her, relief crashing over his face like a storm. Caleb slumped back. The curse is split. 3 ways. None of us will die from it now. And the council? Adrian asked. Caleb's eyes hardened. They have no king left to control. Adrian stood slowly. He was breathing. Warm. Alive. But still marked by relics of shadow. Evelyn stepped closer. So what are you now? She whispered. Adrian met her gaze. I am no longer the cursed king, he said softly. Nor a vampire. Then what? She breathed. He took her hand, warm fingers curling around hers. I am what your truth made me. Evelyn's heart thundered. And what did it make you? Adrian's voice softened to something she had never heard from him before. Yours. Her breath caught. But Caleb, still on the floor, bleeding shadows and breathless, gave a hoarse, weary laugh. Not yet, he rasped. The kingdom still needs a ruler. Adrian looked down at him. Then rule with me. A flicker of shock crossed Caleb's face. Adrian extended his hand. As equals. Caleb stared at it. Then slowly, painfully, he took it. Evelyn watched them both, her chest tight with something fierce and unshakable. The curse was broken, not erased, but rewritten. And the dawn rising beyond the shattered windows was the first in a century that belonged to them. If you loved this chapter and want the next one to hit even harder, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and tap that notification bell so you never miss a twist. Drop a comment below. Tell me which character you're rooting for, Adrian, Evelyn, or Caleb, and why. Your reply might inspire the next plot twist. And share this video with someone who loves dark fantasy. Let's grow this world together. Until the next chapter. Stay curious, stay imaginative, and stay unbound.